In this video, it is an all Tokyo Disney Resort analysis breakdown. We're going to discuss a lot of changes happening over there in Japan up next on OG55. Welcome aboard to another episode of OG55, where we're talking all about the Tokyo Disney Resort. There was a lot going on over there. It is absolutely wild. But before we dive into everything, I want to introduce the doctor, Mr. Dr. Dre, host of our Freshly Squeezed show here on the channel. VashSky, welcome back, brother.
Hey, happy to be back. This one's pretty interesting. And although we can't go over everything going on at Tokyo, we can definitely highlight a few of the notable things. It is very interesting at that resort by the sea. So, hey, if you want to go ahead and follow me, you can go do so right down there at VashSky. Go ahead and type it in. It should pop up. For all the, as Christine Waysons McCarthy would say, for all the
robust
discussion right there. Oh, gee, you got that great Walt drop for me?
Oh, absolutely. Take it away, Walt.
And there's the biggest bargain of all.
The biggest bargain of all. That is correct. But even bigger than that, if you can believe it. Well, it's going to be on the channel we're watching right now at Orange Grove 55 at Freshly Squeezed. Your source for juicy news and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. Let's see. Okay, we're going international, so... all right.
Pay attention, it's Joe time.
There you go. It's a little southern where I want to go, but there you go. That's the way it goes. OG. A lot of stuff going on in Tokyo, huh?
Absolutely. I'm going to bring up your screen. We're going to start breaking it down because there is a lot. All right. So it says here, Tokyo Disney Resort announces paid seating for Believe Sea of Dreams Nighttime Spectacular. This is absolutely crazy, Dre. Absolutely crazy. We both woke up to this news. We called each other. We were like, what is going on?
Whoa, this is a big escalation here. This comes to us via Walt Disney World News today, and it's basically what what you're looking at right here: paid shows at a Disney theme park. Well, it's Tokyo, so it gets confusing very, very quickly. So they have, I guess, this new Lagoon show coming out. This what was it called again? The Believe Sea of Dreams. And in order to see this show, you essentially all of the area around this lagoon has been taken up by 3 different class of clientele. So in the pink there, you have the Tokyo Disney Resort Vacation Package holders. In the blue, you have the Disney Premier Access holders. And then in the green, you have the entry request lottery winners, which we will get into. But then they break it down even further. They're going to use a slightly different system depending on the day that it is. So I guess this would be, we have variable pricing, right? This is variable, I don't know, capacity or variable, what is it, demographic breakdown, I guess. And so they have the A and the B. The A, I guess, is the low days. B is going to be the high days, and they have it all break it down in this calendar in November right here. This is some pretty crazy stuff here, OG. What do you think about all of this?
It's pretty wild. It's interesting because, here in the domestic parks, fans love to just kind of blame Chapek, right? Like, oh, well, it's Chapek being greedy. That's why these changes are kind of happening. Chapek doesn't run the Tokyo Resort. Chapek, Disney doesn't technically own the Disney Resort in Tokyo. It's the OLC, the Oriental Land Company. They pay Disney a licensing fee to use their characters, but it's run by a completely different company. And it's interesting to me that they're opting for a very Chapek-y kind of approach. I don't know. I know a lot of fans are not going to like that, obviously, but I think that it does sort of speak to, when we see a lot of the kind of similar changes here in the US, it kind of speaks to how much of a sound business model it might be. because from what I understand, OLC is kind of struggling financially, and now they're starting to implement some of these Chapek-y moves. It kind of does give a little hat tip to the, let's say the, I don't know, the effectiveness in terms of, bringing money in, and that they're going in this route, very similar to what they're trying to do over here in America. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, America is already doing a version of this. They're just doing it with dining packages, right? So, if you look at what you're getting in terms of those dining packages, I mean, I think they come. I mean, based on the food that you actually receive, they come at anywhere between like a $10 to $20 upcharge. I guess this is going to be around the $20 range. Converted into yen, that is, I actually don't know. maybe somebody can actually put in the chat there. Let us know what the actual conversion rate is, because, well, the Japanese yen is a little bit down, right? It hasn't been performing all that well, especially post 2020. So that has led to some economic problems, obviously, for Japan. Oriental Land Company, like you said, they got hurt pretty bad here, right? From what I understand, they are also a land management company, real estate firm, whatever. I believe they have some holdings in some other places, but I mean, on this front here, they have been taking a significant hit.
Right.
From what I understand, they were going how long with capacity restrictions down to like 5,000 people per day. I mean, how in the heck are you supposed to, staff an entire park only for 5,000? I mean, Disneyland Resort, for context, folks. I mean, there's like 30,000 cast members that are employed by Disneyland Resort. Obviously, those aren't on site every single day, but I mean, I would have to assume that. 5,000, you'd have to have at least that in the park just to run some of these facilities. So, I mean, they've been taking a severe financial hit. And I guess this is one of the methods that they are using to not only control demand, but to actually monetize it as well. And while the U.S. parks are using like dinner packages and so forth to try to incentivize people to, purchase extra pay options for these shows, they're just flat out telling you, hey, you either go through the lottery or you pay, and that's it. That's all you got.
Wow, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. I'm very interested to see how, because this story is still kind of new. It's still kind of fresh on the news cycle. But I remember kind of, going through Diz Twitter. It's now been really since the parks reopened, like a year and a half ago now or something. And I hear a lot of fans, they were saying, well, it wasn't so much the price increases, it was just that we're getting less quality and stuff. I'm very curious as to a lot of the fans' opinion on this move, because you can't get more high quality than Tokyo Disney Sea.
Well,
so are they going to be more okay with these price increases, or, what I'm saying? So that's an interesting kind of, thing that I'm very curious to see how that plays out.
Indeed. But that's the weird thing, though. The quality, from what we have been hearing coming out of Japan, is that it's dipped. Apparently, there are less performers in each of the various shows that they actually have. I guess, for example, the parade cast members have been cut down to almost nothing, from what we understand. They really have been cutting back on a range of services and so forth, and they are upcharging wherever they can, including the example you see here. It's interesting. I wanted to go ahead and highlight this Twitter user, Spencer of Tokyo, or TBR Plans. Yeah, he was wondering, I'll go ahead and read you some of what he says here. How much more price gouging can the Japanese market take? Let's look at these numbers here. Per Dota, the average salary in Japan is 4.53 million yen per year, which is around $41,000 in US as of last year. And I'll be using the 2021 exchange rates because the yen drop is not permanent. That's true, but I don't see it rebounding any sooner here. He goes on to talk about, it's a pretty long thread. He goes on to talk about how, this is really starting to price out the average park goer. Who wants to frequent the Tokyo Disney Resort. And he says here, based on our numbers from earlier, that comes out to a fourth of a family's annual disposable income spent in only 2 days. I guess this is for the the vacation packages have always been high, but the ceiling has raised even higher post-COVID, despite perks being slashed. So this is for vacation packages that they've been selling there. And if you'll remember, that is one of the prime places that that is reserved. It is reserved for the Tokyo Disney Resort vacation package holders in pink here. So, I mean, they're raising prices across the board from what it sounds like. They have been reducing some quality, and it's going to be really interesting to see, how the maybe the Japanese tourists might respond to this. Now, in terms of like a U.S. tourist or an international tourist, if you can actually get into the country, which is, it's been, touch and go, let's say, you're finding incredible deals because the disparity between where the dollar is in terms of valuation and the yen that delta is quite large. And apparently, I mean, I know, I believe it was Andy Castro has been making some tweets lately comparing the, I don't know, $179 price of a one-day, one-park ticket, a tier 6 or a tier 7, whatever the highest tier actually is now, of a Disneyland Resort ticket versus, I think it's like, I don't know, $60-$70 of a one-day, one-park ticket for any of the Tokyo parks, and he was examining that disparity in terms of quality, and I do agree Tokyo puts out a really fine product, but that is starting to fray, as we mentioned earlier. And look, I mean, not only is it kind of higher prices or upcharging, but this lottery system, right? I think that's the most, for me personally, that's the thing that is the most kind of egregious, like the pricing and all that. Okay, fine. I don't know. It's kind of par for the course with Disney, kind of always has. They're always like the most expensive, okay, fine. But the lottery thing where it's like people are chosen like random to fill these spots. Like, see, I'm not really down for that. So I guess you download an app on your phone. It's basically the Tokyo version of the Disney Parks app, Disneyland app, whatever. And you select your family, their tickets, and so forth, and you enroll yourself into a lottery to get yourself in any of the various shows that are playing that day. And yeah, I guess people are chosen at random, and if you don't get in, you don't get in that day. And that's a pretty kind of... Wow. That's a crazy system right there. At least at Disney, it may feel like a lottery sometimes, but it is very much first come, first serve, from what we understand. So to implement a system like this is very rigid. We also saw during the reopenings of these parks at various times, we saw them implement like a season pass, which featured a very similar lottery system, if you can believe it. So I guess it gave you 3 months of access to the parks, but you actually had to, reserve a slot for a day. You couldn't, I believe you were limited in how many times you could visit per month or so. So you reserved a slot for that day, and there was a lottery system that took place there as well. Tokyo really likes its lottery systems, apparently.
Yeah.
I guess even though you might get in, that lottery extends to the events and experiences that you want to take part in that day.
The lottery system's interesting, and I'm just kind of spitballing here. But I wonder if it's like a cultural thing, because a lot of like the stuff that you buy from like Japan have like these mystery boxes, right? Like the little Japanese figures, they'll have these mystery boxes. I wonder if it's like a cultural thing where they kind of, they lean towards that. They kind of like that whole like idea of like, like a lottery, like basically like, oh, we might get something great or we might not. I wonder if that's a cultural thing. And again, I don't know for sure, but I see that same trend though with like merchandise too. Like, like me, I hate that. Like, I don't like, if I'm going to buy an item, I want to know what item I'm getting. I do not like mystery boxes at all. Mm-hmm. But it seems like Japan culture kind of embraces that. And I wonder if that's part of the allure with this lottery system. And again, I have no idea. It's just something I'm noticing.
That's a really interesting thing that you say there, because maybe it might be ingrained to the culture in a way that maybe we hadn't exactly considered until just right now. Maybe that is something that takes place there quite regularly, which is why the ULC might feel it's okay to implement such a system in so many various aspects of your visit there. It's interesting. I mean, the population of Japan is about let's see, 125, 130 million or so. I mean, it's quite a densely packed country for its size and landmass and so forth. And I mean, the Disney parks domestically experienced some extreme demand after these restrictions were actually let up. Japan was a little bit slower, if I remember correctly, in letting up some of those restrictions. So they have to deal with that demand somewhere, or in some way, I should say. And the OLC has chosen to monetize it, which is kind of a fascinating thing. We've seen that reflected here. But, I mean, I remember California, and I remember how visitation to Disney was restricted to the California market. Well, that's only 40 million people. Now, compare that to 130 million people. So I guess you would have to use some type of system like a lottery to cut through that a little bit. And it's also why I think we're not seeing annual passes. I know a lot of people, even Spencer of Tokyo and so forth, have said, we're likely not to see annual passes anymore, considering measures like this. I'm not so sure on that, at least indefinitely. I think there might be some return to a system like that, but I mean, if you have 130 million people from which to pull from, do you necessarily have to implement an annual pass holder system right now?
Right.
We remember even Disneyland's case, even though that's ingrained into the culture of Southern California. How long did we see until an annual pass holder system was restored? From April 30th to, I want to say,
August, I believe.
Yeah, August 25th.
Long time.
It was a long time. I can assume that it might even be longer here.
Yeah, and you're starting to see whether Japan brings back their AP program or not, you're starting to see this is a real turning point for Disney parks, because you're starting to see less of a desire, less of a reliance on these annual pass holders. Disney here in California, we're seeing it. They're pushing away a little bit from this group. Japan, I mean, Spencer says, he doesn't think they'll ever come back. Now, they might, like you were saying, they might, but there's definitely less of, even if it does return, it does feel like Disney and even OLC is sort of not as interested in this AP demographics, AP culture as it once was. I feel like they're kind of stepping back a little bit from it, and things are changing. I don't know. That's just the energy I'm getting. I just feel like the days of yesteryear where like these annual passes were like just kind of, like the normal thing, and they were so easily available. And I just feel like those days are behind us. I think these companies are seeing the market differently now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I honestly, I think the days of unrestricted or unfettered access are over. I think we can all agree on that. If they do implement an annual pass holder system, I can presume that it'll be like what Disneyland's done with its reservation type systems, or maybe even a step beyond that. Maybe they integrate some lottery process in that as well. I mean, look, if they're having paid shows inside of theme parks, that suggests that they're not going back to an annual pass holder system for a while. That suggests that demand is there, and that they actually have to restrict demand, not encourage it through the use of an annual pass holder program. That might change. I mean, there could be some economic conditions at play. Obviously we had the Fed recently increase the the interest rates about 0.75% or so, and that affects obviously the world economies and so forth. So be interesting to see how this plays out in the coming years. But speaking of the coming years, one of the reasons why the OLC is doing a lot of the things that it is doing is to pay for new construction projects. And one that got particularly interesting, we've talked about it before, but it's with the Space Mountain project. These images come to us via Walt Disney World News Today as well. And you remember that they're spending, I don't know, almost, what is it, half a billion dollars or so on essentially rebuilding their Space Mountain from the ground up, which is it's basically like a 1-to-1 almost of Disneyland's Space Mountain in Anaheim. And they're going to be, I guess, tearing it down altogether and rebuilding it on a plot of land that is massive. You can see, look, it's Disneyland's Space Mountain. It's not super small. It is quite a decent sized structure, but you can see the territory that they've outlined here. It dwarfs it.
Unbelievable. And the rumor is that they want to have like a cosmic rewind sort of ride vehicle. Now that ride has been hugely successful in Florida. I have yet to hear a single person, even from Diz Twitter, who kind of Diz Twitter leans negative, you know.
Sure.
And even Diz Twitter is like, oh my God, this is like the best thing we've ever been on. I haven't heard a negative review yet. Smart move. Honestly, from Japan, that's a smart move to kind of go in that direction. And with the budget that they have, which is a massive budget, I can definitely see that being highly successful. Yeah. And this is one of the problems. See, this is one of the issues, though, I think, with California and Disneyland being Walt's park, right? And there's so much nostalgia kind of tied to it.
Sure.
It's a blessing for sure. Absolutely. We love our Walt, you know? We love our history. But it also ties us down a little bit because we could never do something like this. Even if we had the space, the fans would go nuts if we were to bulldoze Space Mountain and reimagine it even into a great thing like this. I think it would be met with a lot of resistance. Let's just say that from the fans. And that's kind of sad because, you know, I think that this sounds like it could be a really cool kind of reimagining of that same kind of concept. And I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily be against it, but I know a lot of fans would. I think I'm in the minority. I think a lot of Disneyland fans would not be down for that.
I don't think so. I mean, I remember putting it out there. I think we were having this conversation with Drunk 3PO when we were on his channel, actually. Yeah. Talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, right? How he's like, oh man, they should replace the classic Pirates of the Caribbean with the Shanghai version, right? And how, I think I was one of the first ones to speak up like, oh, hey, that might not go so well with the fans because there is that kind of nostalgia. I think in this case, it's interesting. I mean, would I be adverse to a change like this if we had the space, let's say? I don't know, because I have a little bit of nostalgia, right?
Yeah,
I think
we all do.
Optimally, I think I would prefer an addition, like a new ride, right? One that doesn't necessarily replace an existing one, like Space Mountain or any other attraction, for instance, right? So I would rather them build a new ride rather than replace an old with something new altogether. This here, though, I mean, you're right. Japan maybe doesn't have the same nostalgia as the American guest goes, right? And so it's like, hey, we're landlocked. We're very limited in terms of our real estate. We have a portion here of this parking lot, as you can see, that we can kind of siphon off and provide for a new attraction on a grand scale. I guess Tom Corliss is reporting that the Orient Atlantic executives, when they toured the Cosmic Rewind site and they saw that amazing new ride system, I guess they fell in love with the technology and so forth. They were like, hey, we got to have something like that over here. And well, I guess they're getting it. And it's like, hey, if we're landlocked, if space is at a premium and so forth, and Space Mountain necessarily isn't the groundbreaking attraction that it was when it maybe debuted and theirs in the 1980s, but again, it was based off a ride from 1977. It's like, okay, we're gonna replace it here.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, exactly. And while Tokyo Disney Sea is very cutting edge and like the pinnacle of theming in many ways, Tokyo Disneyland, not as much. A lot of the stuff in that park, especially Tomorrowland, kind of outdated, a little outdated. So it definitely needs a shot in the arm, and this
Yeah.
might be it.
Yeah, I would agree. Tokyo Disneyland is kind of a hodgepodge. I mean, Tokyo Disney Seas looks outrageous, and we'll go to a new expansion that they have on the horizon very, very shortly. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, Tokyo Disneyland, I can definitely see where it's like, okay, well, and now that I think about it, I mean, what was it, 2005 when the new version of Space Mountain opened, from the entire track and so forth being replaced, I believe, in 2002, 2003, right? So if we work on that same time schedule, I guess this track has seen its lifespan kind of exceed its expiration date, right? So it's like, okay, well, if the decision is replace the track relatively soon, or go with a brand new attraction, maybe that's the route they go. And this is going to be, I guess, the what is it, the vehicle to usher in an entirely new maybe Tomorrowland, as we discussed back in that discussion.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And you know, with this cosmic rewind technology, it's such a home run hit. I mean, look, even OLC, they saw it and they wasted no time incorporating it into their resort, you know? I mean, this ride barely opened, and OLC is already starting on their version of it. Just that kind of goes to show you how impressive this thing must be, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see Disney, and I know we're more limited on space out here in California, but I would just love to see Disney incorporate this ride tech somehow, some way, into one of our parks. I mean, if it's DCA, fine. You know, DCA might even need it more, to be honest with you. But I would just love to see that cosmic rewind tech come over here somehow, some way. Disney, if you can make it happen. Hey, look, we obviously don't have the space, but you can reimagine it in a way that might be able to fit. They've done it before with Tower of Terror. They adjusted the building and the way the whole thing operates to fit in DCA. Hey, can you rework something and give us the cosmic rewind style coaster out here? Kind of work it out to make it fit. If you can, do it. Absolutely.
If you can, I mean, I will say that cosmic rewind structure is huge. It is absolutely massive. So I don't even know where that might fit. I mean, yeah. I'll be honest here. Even if we were to take the what is it, the old Strawberry Field site, the Toy Story lot site, right? Yeah. Clear it out. I mean, just adding that attraction in its current form in that park, I mean, that would take up like a quarter of that amount of real estate there. Wow. I would have to map it, but it's, what was that?
And that's like 75, 80 acres. That's a big piece of land.
That would be huge. So wow. I don't quite know where you would actually put this thing. My ratios might be up, but I think that's kind of how big it is. It is a huge thing, and this complex right here is a huge deal. And I do give Oriental Land Company credit for investing in their established theme park business. Going big, going bold with a new version of Space Mountain. I think it might be pretty special. And hey, maybe we see a Space Mountain like this adapted for a U.S. park in the future. Yeah, maybe you really never know.
You never know. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating stuff.
Yes. And now we have, something new here. We just got a sneak peek of their Tokyo Disney Sea's new Fantasy Springs area. So I'll go ahead and let this play right here, and we'll talk over top of it. This is obviously the concept artwork that we've been seeing so much of, and this is the model that you're seeing right here. But now we have drone footage of current construction, and it's pretty stellar. It is pretty frigging sweet. Over here you have the kind of flagship hotel there. Apparently it's supposed to be, in a class all of its own. OG, what do you think of this?
Okay, here's the thing. I look at a hotel like that, right? Mm-hmm. It's freaking gorgeous. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. And a lot of people get mad at me when I say, like, our Disneyland hotel needs to be demolished and rebuilt. It just does.
I've seen this before.
Yeah, and people get upset, but it is super ugly. These blue boxy towers. Look, you don't need a sprawling hotel complex that obviously we don't have the space for certain things, but man, if we can get if they can replace our blue boxy towers with something so detailed and ornate like this, just a couple of beautiful towers like this. I mean, oh God, that's what I want to see come here. That's what I want to see come here. Really give a world-class hotel experience would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I have been signaling my frustration with some of our guests pre and post show, right? I think we had Ranking the Mouse on. I think I've talked to Ethan about this as well. Theme Park Wizard, definitely. I go ahead and give them a look-see or subscribe for sure. But I'm just like, man, why is it that over 20 plus years after the establishment of the Disneyland Resort, do we not have more hotel resorts? It's like, why do we just have the 3? And 2 of them, well, Disney's Grand Californian was the only one actually built by Disney. Right. Right. The other 2 were actually holdovers from other companies and so forth. It is just absolutely bizarre. It is really, really strange. Why we don't see more expansion out here. We debated it as well, but you look at some of this stuff. I mean, I will say the concept artwork here, I think, looks a little bit better than the actual thing. The actual thing looks a little plain. Maybe it doesn't have all of its endorments yet. So,
yeah, I think it looks like it's still being pretty worked on. There's a lot of scaffolding still and stuff.
Right. So, okay, well, I'll hold off my judgment. But I mean, and you see the myriad of hotel resorts around there, some built by Disney, some not. Obviously the Maricosta and so forth. I mean, they just have some gorgeous properties. And man, can we get something like that out here?
Yes.
I'm not. Look, the Disneyland Hotel, there's some great nostalgia there. The Jack Wagner Company, all that kind of stuff. Wait, am I right on that? Was it Jack Wagner, or am I getting that mistaken here?
No, it was Jack Wagner. You're asking about the name?
Yes, the previous company who owned the Disneyland Hotel. Oh,
it was. You mean one moment?
See,
no,
now
actually, Jack Wagner was the voice of Disneyland.
Yes, yeah, right. And then
the last name is, I'm blanking on it.
See, okay, hang on a second. I'm gonna look this up because
Jack Wagner.
Right. Rather Wagner. Oh, man. It always gets me. Chat, I am so sorry about that. I really do apologize. I know this is premiering right now and everybody's screaming. I really am sorry. The Rather Corporation, right? Look, I have nostalgia for that as well. But,
yeah,
I mean, those buildings were built in the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, can we get something new? I mean, this new what is it, DVC tower? I mean, it's gonna put those to shame, I think.
It's gonna make them look really bad.
Yeah,
it's gonna make them look really bad. I have to ask you, is this hotel surrounding the new Fantasy Springs themed area?
Yeah, partially, yes. It will kind of provide some of the berm for this area. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool looking. See,
and this would be, I mean, if Disney wants to go all out, I mean, this is kind of the thing, the kind of direction I want to go in with Disneyland Resort, where, we have this Disneyland Forward initiative, right? Hopefully it gets passed through. But you have that big chunk of land, Symbol lot, that they want to use to expand DCA, right?
Sure.
An approach like this, maybe it can't be this big, but an approach like this where you kind of build a new hotel around the theme park and use that hotel as a berm for this beautiful new land. This is the kind of thing, this is the kind of usage I want to see for that Disneyland Forward expansion.
I agree.
Stuff like this, creative ways to kind of block the outside world, make it more immersive. Plus you get more hotel rooms, bulldoze that god awful ugly Pixar hotel. They're just, do something like this.
I know. I agree. I think that is definitely the way to go, especially with something that's so landlocked like the Toy Story Land site or the Toy Story parking lot site. So and you can see the concept artwork here, the model.
Now pause it right here real quick.
Go ahead.
This is the Peter Pan Neverland ride.
Yes. Yep.
Now there's been some speculation. I believe it was from our friend DSNY actually, Jack, who was saying he was saying that he believes that the ride vehicles for this Peter Pan thing, that ride system might be what they're planning to do for the Avengers Multiverse attraction.
That is, I've heard that speculation before. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know, because we saw, should probably have had those images up before. We saw the ride vehicles in use before, or I'm sorry, featured before at D23 Expo, right?
We did. I'm actually going to pull it up right now. Give me just a moment. I'll pull it up right now for the audience, and I'll show you, because it's the same kind of boxy, kind of like that Universal Transformers kind of thing, and that's why I think he was kind of going with that.
Here we go.
There it is.
That's it.
And so I mean, look, from the concept art of that multiverse attraction, it definitely looks like a vehicle that seats. It has about the same kind of like seating arrangement. It's very boxy. I could see why DSNY was like, oh, maybe they're going with this. I don't know.
And you can see right here, if you show my screen again, this is a little bit different of a view of it. This is via Blog Mickey here. You can see it's a little, I can see where the comparisons lie. I had heard that this attraction was supposed to be a play on the Pandora, what is it, a Flight of Passage attraction?
Right. And so you sort of, this thing kind of like takes you through these scenes.
Yeah. So are we like, does it become more like Universal's Back to the Future / Simpsons in that way?
I believe so. That's the impression I got.
Yeah.
Could be totally wrong, but that's the impression that I was getting. Yeah, something along those lines.
Okay.
I don't know. But it also, I mean, it also could be something like Forbidden Journey, where these things go through physical sets, but then there's screens along the way, and it kind of goes through the screens and then pulls back and goes back into that physical kind of set pieces. It could do something like that too. I don't really know, but it's promising. It's promising. I really don't know. But this is coming along nicely. Obviously, that mountain range is there to hide out that show building, which I have heard it's supposed to be pretty big. So, and it's basically when you're going on Peter Pan's flight at Disneyland, it's like the Neverland sequence, right? That little island there, it's in scale, and it's pretty magical. Look at that thing. My God. Now, here's a question I want to ask you. Look at this. This is absolutely breathtaking. Oh my God, dude. Look at this.
It's ridiculous, right?
But now Tokyo, from what I understand though, they have like a lock on like new tech for a certain amount of time or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I guess the Oriental Land Company CEO was saying on I believe the Frozen ride, he was saying, like, if I'm not mistaken, he was saying that he wants that to be like an exclusive deal just for them.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're pretty committed to that. We got a little bit more here, just real fast, because we have the Tangled and the Frozen area.
Oh,
gotta
nice.
see those. This project is coming along here, and you can kind of see why.
Wow.
Why they're monetizing in the way they are, right? Because this stuff is expensive. We've already got water in that waterway there. I mean, we're getting along here. at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Like I and the early on in the show, I was saying like, hey, look, I mean, if they charge high prices, are fans willing to kind of put up with those high prices for high quality? I can't speak for all fans, but you know what? Take my freaking wallet right now. I want all of that here. I'll pay whatever you guys want. I don't care.
I know. And you just see the ambition from Oriental Land Company, and look, would they have necessarily gone forward with a project like this, knowing what was on the horizon for 2020? Maybe not, right? But I mean, this is a lot of investment for sure. It's huge. There's a lot.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I love OLC, and I really hope that the financial situation they're in right now, they can come out on the other end and be fine.
Same.
And that's why I think, like, as fans, we just have to kind of, I don't want to say suck it up, because obviously that's not a good thing to do either. You definitely want to vote with your wallet. You definitely want to speak out for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think as fans, we need to understand that it's not so cut and dry. It's not just like Chapek being an asshole, and that's why we're having these issues. Yep. OLC doesn't have Chapek, and they're doing very similar things to what Disney is doing. A lot of this stems from
maybe even more
pandemic, the damage caused by that, A lot of fans, when Disneyland was closed, they wanted that park closed. We keep it closed for 3 years if we have to. We can't have any cases. I remember those arguments, and this is the ramifications of having it closed for 400 plus days, is now they have to recoup all that. These are businesses. It doesn't go away overnight. And just because you go to the park and go, oh, it's busy, people are buying things, they must be fine. Not really. If your account at home, if you have a bank account, right, and your account is $1,000 overdrawn, right, and you have a garage sale, just because you're making a lot of money, people see you on the outside making a lot of money, doesn't mean that you're okay, because you only made $400, but you're negative $1,000 in your bank account. Right. And that's kind of the same situation here. Yeah, they're making money, but they're negative in their account.
Right. Yeah. Now, OG, come on. I mean, can we? Speaking for our people who wanted the parks closed, can we just have, I don't know, a COVID amnesty? Can we water on the bridge, right?
Yeah,
Like, there are consequences to actions, folks, and unfortunately, in both instances, whether it be the Oriental Land Company or the Walt Disney Company, they in the red a little bit, and unfortunately, they got to pay that back. Which, and to Disney's credit, they have been restoring some of the quality features that we know and love. I mean, Disney Walt Disney World's Fantasmic, for example. Sorry,
right?
Just came back online. It looks to be a good amount of improvement to that show. I have some feelings on the new segment, let's say, but listen, they're still providing you a show. There are some dinner packages available for that, for reserved seating, but it is kind of a first come first served thing. They didn't monetize the show in its entirety like the Oriental Land Company did. Yeah. So, it's one of those things, give and take. Obviously, there are consequences to actions, and unfortunately, both these companies have to contend with that.
Absolutely. Well, Dre, thank you so much, brother, for coming on. Producer Dre, everybody. Producer Dre.
Oh,
if you can let everybody home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Yes, best place to find me is going to be at VashSky on Twitter. It's going to be right down there. Just go ahead and type it in just like it's spelled, and I should pop up for you. And if you want to see more, well, you can go ahead and do so at Orange Grove 55. Please subscribe if you could, right? Provide us a comment down below. Tell us what you think about all these editions. But if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on channel you're watching right now at Orange Grove 55. But Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. There you go, right there. Really interesting stuff, OG. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, where we dive into Tokyo Disney Resort, an amazing place that I eventually hope to visit one day. It's like a total bucket list thing. This place looks absolutely incredible. But yeah, comment down below, like Dre said, any of your thoughts in regards to the annual pass situation, the upcharges with the shows, this new Fantasy Springs area that looks absolutely bonkers amazing. Comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for watching OG55. And as always, have a great day. And remember,
フォースと共にあらんこと